Now at 5, we already have a cold wind, and it's only going to get colder when those wind chills will drop below 0.
As many as 5 vaccines could soon be in play to help combat the coronavirus. Tonight, we take an in-depth look at the differences of each one.
That's just where a lot of the guilt comes in, is I just feel like I didn't protect him enough.
Tonight, a man's fight with COVID-19 and how his family is choosing to honor his memory.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5, streaming now.
Now at 5, frozen in time. The downtown canal covered in ice, and don't expect anything to melt anytime soon.
Settle in for several days that won't get above freezing. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory kicks off our team coverage tonight. Kevin.
And the core of the cold air won't be here until Sunday morning. It's on the horizon. We've been talking about it for a while. You'll begin to feel it second half of the weekend. Right now it's 25 in Kokomo, 32 in Indianapolis, and I have seen a couple rays of sunshine bust through the cloud cover. You probably had some snow showers earlier today. This is what it feels like. We're going to talk more about wind chill temperatures in a second, but 9 is the current wind chill in Peru, 17 in Lafayette. A different story in southern Indiana, not quite as cold. There are your snow showers and flurries. They've been generally north of Interstate 70 from Indy to the east. Those will gradually fade away. See where we're headed tomorrow morning? Down to 14 degrees. It will be much colder as we get to Sunday. Through the day tomorrow, we'll manage a 28-degree high temperature. The clouds will increase as we go through the day. That west wind will remain under control at about 10 miles per hour. The clouds increase out ahead of the arrival of the Arctic air, which will bring with it the transition with snow. That's 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, and you can see snow just starting to arrive in the western portion of the state. Well, this isn't going to be a cold snap that's here and gone. It's going to stick around for a while. Kyle's preparing you for that.
Kevin, we're just getting into that first round of cold, and with more on the way, it means our face masks actually going to be pulling double duty here, helping to keep our face a little extra warm with that biting wind chill we're expecting.
It's going to be a long stretch of cold with temperatures not expected to get above freezing for at least the next week and a half. That's a whopping 240 hours. And while winds may not be quite as gusty this weekend, it's still going to be enough to quickly add to the chill factor. Feels like numbers will range from the single digits to lower 20s Saturday, and Indy will feel more like Siberia by Sunday morning when those numbers drop below 0. That means you'll need to use caution when heading out this weekend to protect yourself from the cold. The long duration of this cold spell will also have an impact. Morning wind chills expected to drop below 0 on multiple occasions next week, putting us at a moderate to high risk for frostbite all week long. This means you need to limit your time outdoors as much as possible. When you do head out, protect your skin by layering up from head to toe, and don't forget about your pets. They need to be protected from the cold too. Working for you, I'm WRTV Storm Team Meteorologist Kyle Mounts.
Thank you, Kyle. And the snow in the forecast means it will be another busy weekend for road crews. The Department of Public Works says it will activate Indy Snow Force at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. All 80 of the city's drivers will be on the streets to pre-treat them and then to plow snow after it falls. Indy Snow Force will remain on the roads through at least Tuesday morning. INDOT expects to have its drivers taking care of the interstates and state highways through the weekend as well.
Another sizable jump today in the effort to get Hoosiers vaccinated against the coronavirus. More than 661,000 people have received their first dose of either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. That's an increase of more than 25,000 from yesterday's number. More than 191,000 people are now fully vaccinated. Remember, anyone age 65 or older, a healthcare worker or first responder, you can all register an appointment by going to ourshot.in.gov or by calling 211. The number of new coronavirus cases is below 2,000 again. The 1,529 cases reported today were all recorded yesterday. The 7-day positivity rate continues to drop and now stands at 7.2%. 49 more Hoosiers have died with COVID-19. Those deaths occurred between December 23rd and yesterday. The statewide total is now 11,280 since March. The last several months have been tough for thousands of Hoosier families who are mourning the loss of a loved one to COVID-19 while celebrating the life and memory of their relative. The people who have died from this deadly virus are more than just a statistic in daily health reports. They're people who have made a difference. WRTV's Alyssa Donovan shares the story of a man who, even in death, is still impacting lives.
Charles Henderson was a family man, working hard to give his wife and 2 daughters a happy life.
My dad was the provider of the family and worked so my mom could stay home with me and my younger sister.
Even building the family's house with his own 2 hands.
He was our protector.
Henderson ran his own business, and even with all the work, his daughter Amy Sloan remembers he was very involved in her and her sister's lives.
He was our baseball coach. He would take the whole team out for Dairy Queen after every win.
After heart surgery in 2006, Henderson stopped working. The past few years, spending his days looking after his grandchildren.
And he kind of then played the stay-at-home grandpa role. And
everything changed at the end of March. Henderson was having trouble breathing. His wife took him to the hospital. The first few days, the family FaceTimed with him, and he seemed okay. But then he was placed on a ventilator. His health spiraled from there.
And then every couple days, just another organ had failed. Another organ had failed.
Just after midnight on April 10th, a nurse called
and said, "It's time, we need to unplug the machines." And I did not want him to die alone without at least being on the telephone.
Sloan stayed on the phone as the nurse turned off the machines that were keeping her father alive. Charles Henderson was 64 years old. Sloan feels some responsibility for what happened to her father.
So much guilt.
But she and the family have found several ways to honor her dad.
We still go camping every other weekend in his honor, in his memory.
And by wearing these when they go out, masks that read Charlie Charlie.
His little nickname was Charlie Charlie because he always said just silly things and everybody would just say, "Charlie Charlie."
At first, Sloan just made the masks for her family, but friends kept asking for them to wear in honor of Henderson. So she's passed out close to 80 masks with the slogan.
People are wearing them now when they get their vaccine in honor of Charlie Charlie, and it just makes me smile to see the huge impact that he had on everyone's life.
I'm Alyssa Donovan, WRTV.
If you've lost someone close to you to COVID-19, connect with us. We want to share their stories so that those taken from us are never forgotten. You can reach us at facesofcovid@WRTV.com.
Millions of struggling Americans are keeping a close eye on Washington and how lawmakers are handling President Joe Biden's nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package. A key development occurred early this morning after a marathon session. ABC's Andrew Dimbert is in Washington, D.C. with the latest.
Today, Senate Democrats forging ahead on COVID relief, creating the option of leaving Republicans behind.
We cannot underscore enough how much help the America needs during this awful crisis.
Vice President Kamala Harris breaking a 50-50 tie after a grueling 15-hour session where senators got to vote on amendments to the White House's $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan that could shape what ends up in the final bill. The budget reconciliation bill that passed means Democrats can pass coronavirus relief without any GOP support.
The vice president votes in the affirmative.
President Joe Biden today doubling down on his approach to go big.
The biggest risk is not going too big if we go too small.
The president and Democrats saying new signs of a weakening economy adds to the urgency of getting those $1,400 relief checks out to Americans, though there seems to be some wiggle room on lowering the income level for eligibility.
It's very clear our economy is still in trouble.
Biden holding his first in-person meeting with House Democratic leaders. Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying even though they don't need Republican votes, they are still open to bipartisanship.
I hope that we can work together because we are going to work it through.
Biden, who promised to work with Republicans and try to unify a politically divided Washington, now dismissing the significantly trimmed-down proposal offered by 10 Senate Republicans.
We're going to go smaller, so it's just going to take us a lot longer, like until 2025. That's the Republican answer right now.
GOP leaders, meanwhile, outraged at Democrats for passing the massive bill that could ignore their input.
They're not interested in doing the hard work it takes to build consensus.
The Labor Department says employers added just 49,000 jobs in January compared to cutting 227,000 jobs in December. But still, the economy is about 10 million jobs short of its pre-pandemic levels, which the White House says underscores the need to pass another round of COVID relief. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
Some Indiana University employees are getting an immediate pay raise. The Board of Trustees today approved an increase in the minimum wage for appointed staff. They will now get $13.66 an hour, up from $12.33. They'll get another hike to $15 an hour starting July 1st. This applies to positions which are non-academic support, service, or professional staff employees who are paid hourly.
The City of Fishers and its Parks Foundation are raising funds to honor the families of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for this country and our freedom. This is an image of what the Gold Star Families Memorial Monument would look like. It will be located on the central green in front of City Hall. The monument will be dedicated this Memorial Day. The city hopes to raise $60,000 to complete the project, and it's more than halfway there.
Still ahead on WRTV, we hear the names Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, but what really is the difference between the vaccines that are approved and in development to fight COVID-19? We break it all down for you coming up.
And snow in the forecast tomorrow night, but it's not the only time snow appears in the 7-day outlook. We'll share it all when we come back.
More vaccines could soon be in the mix to fight coronavirus. Johnson & Johnson submitted an application for its COVID-19 vaccine to the FDA yesterday. That means we could have a third vaccine rolling out by next month and 2 more in the spring. Derek Stahl with our Scripps station in San Diego takes an in-depth look at how the leading candidates compare.
New COVID-19 vaccines from Johnson & Johnson, Oxford AstraZeneca, and Novavax are getting closer to joining Pfizer and Moderna in the fight against the virus in the U.S. Clinical trials show all 5 vaccines work extremely well at preventing severe disease. In fact, no volunteer who got one of these shots had to be hospitalized for COVID-19 or died from it.
They're all effective. They will prevent you from dying from COVID or from getting hospitalized with COVID. I would get any of them whenever they're available to you.
When it comes to their abilities to prevent symptoms entirely, there are some differences. Based on early data, the Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccine is 66% effective. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is 76% or more effective, depending on how the 2 doses are spaced out. And Novavax comes in at 89% effective after 2 doses. None of those sound as good as the roughly 95% efficacy for Pfizer or Moderna. But there's some important context to remember. Both Pfizer and Moderna ran their clinical trials before the trickiest viral mutations started spreading. Johnson & Johnson and Novavax conducted trials in South Africa against the toughest known variant, says Dr. Christian Ramers of Family Health Centers of San Diego.
It's very good news, even that, against the harder the more evasive mutant strains, that we're getting more than 50% efficacy.
The 5 vaccines fall into 3 categories. Pfizer and Moderna are mRNA vaccines, which use bits of genetic code in tiny fat bubbles to train the immune system. J&J and Oxford AstraZeneca are called viral vector vaccines. These use a harmless virus to transport similar genetic code. Novavax is different. Instead of code, scientists inject a fake spike protein.
This is just the protein, not the whole virus, so it can't replicate, it can't cause any infections.
When it comes to side effects, we only have an FDA analysis on Pfizer and Moderna shots, but it appears the other 3 cause similar short-term mild effects like fatigue and headache. Slightly fewer people who got the Johnson & Johnson shot developed fever than those who got Moderna or Pfizer. We know even less about the side effects from Novavax, but Dr. Abby Olalade of Sharp Reese Staley doesn't expect any surprises.
That technology has been used in other viruses like hepatitis B and HPV. So, we know that they have similar side effects to the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines.
Novavax is probably the farthest off. It's expected to roll out in a few months. Oxford AstraZeneca probably won't hit the U.S. until April, but Johnson & Johnson could get approval as soon as this month. Derek Stahl for WRTV.
All 5 developers are working on booster shots to address mutations in the virus. Dr. Anthony Fauci says they'll start with the South African variant. The first of the boosters could be ready within months, by the way.
And we have new information tonight about the state health department's ad that will air during the Super Bowl. It will feature the family of North Central High School athletic director Paul Logan, who lost his battle to COVID-19 in the spring. The ad will highlight awareness about the COVID-19 vaccine. It will air in all 6 Indiana TV markets: Indianapolis, Evansville, Fort Wayne, Lafayette, South Bend, and Terre Haute. If you're looking for it here in Indianapolis, it will air at the end of the second quarter before halftime. The ad cost $123,500 to air and produce and was paid for through Federal CARES Act funding. Well, now to your storm team forecast. And Kevin, this is a great weekend to stay in and watch television of any kind because it is going to be so cold.
At some point, we'll have to venture outside, right? Because as Kyle was talking about, it looks like 10 to 14 days here where temperatures will be below the freezing mark. So just getting back into the upper 20s at times will feel great. This always helps as well. As we look west across White River past the JW Marriott and the Indianapolis Zoo, you see some of the rays of sunshine fanning out on the horizon. We'll have sunshine the first part of tomorrow, then the clouds will increase. Temperatures in the metro area at or just below the freezing mark, most locations 32 in Martinsville. So where is the cold air right now? You can see the nose of it coming into the Dakotas. Minneapolis is at 10 degrees, 17 in Des Moines, 13 in Chicago. That will ooze to the south and have its biggest impact on the Hoosier State for the second half of the weekend. Tomorrow, our clouds will increase in the afternoon, leading to the snow tomorrow night. That's part of the transition to the Arctic air. It looks like a good 1 to 3 inch snowfall, and with colder temperatures, this would be a drier, fluffy snowfall. Not as good packing of snow as what we had last week, which was very heavy, wet snow last Saturday night. Timing this looks to be after 6 p.m. arriving in the western portion of the state. Temperatures in the morning in the teens. Afternoon temperatures work their way into the middle to upper 20s, out ahead of then the approaching storm system from the west. See the temperature range from north to south, much colder north. As you pick up the timeline, 5 o'clock to 7, there's the snow along the Wabash River, Lafayette to Crawfordsville, Terre Haute, down to around Bloomfield, overspreading the rest of central Indiana during the evening hours, and then sliding south and east by the time you wake up. Here, one of the forecast models showing anywhere from 2 to maybe 3 inches of snow, but a good solid 2 inches of dry, fluffy snowfall. That will play a role. So if that materializes and we end up with all of that on the ground, it just will reinforce these shots of colder air that keep coming at us in the 7-day forecast. There's your cold northwest wind overnight Saturday into Sunday. We'll wake up Sunday morning with wind chills as cold as 25 below in the northwest portion of the state. 7-day forecast. Temperature Sunday, coldest for a while at 17. Monday, a chance of some light snow again, 29. And you see, as we get to the middle of next week, another shot of cold air. That keeps our lows in the single digits. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning. Brings back a chance of snow on Thursday. And a week from today, we'll still be at 14. This will go on for a while. So it'll sound like I'm repeating myself, guys.
We'll expect it. Thank you, Kevin, for that. Tonight, we remember one of Hollywood's leading men from years gone by, and that is Christopher Plummer.
Do you mean to tell me that my children have been roaming about Salzburg dressed up in nothing but some old drapes?
Mm-hmm. That was the role that made Christopher Plummer an international movie star. He played Captain Von Trapp opposite Julie Andrews as Maria in the 1965 blockbuster, The Sound of Music. It was not a role that he loved, but he softened his opinion later in life. You may recall some of his other roles, a Klingon commander, Rudyard Kipling in The Man Who Would Be King, and Mike Wallace in The Insider. At the age of 82, he became the oldest Academy Award winner for this role in the 2010 film Beginners. And he was nominated again as recently as 2018 for All the Money in the World. Christopher Plummer died at his home in Connecticut. He was 91 years old.
Still ahead on the news at 5, how a 9-year-old girl is turning her own experience with COVID-19 into a way to help other kids, one page at a time. We hear a lot about adults who've had COVID-19, but not so much about kids. After a Tennessee girl got COVID, she decided to write a book about it, hoping to help other kids going through the same thing. Eric Hilt from our Scripps station in Nashville shares her story.
It's not out of the ordinary to find 9-year-old Eden Hummel with a book or a pencil in her hands.
I love writing.
So when the third grader caught the coronavirus last year, she did what any aspiring author would do.
The kid who had COVID, Eden Hummel, author and illustrator.
She wrote and published a book about it.
It makes me feel proud of myself.
The book is titled The Kid Who Had COVID and explains Eden's experience with the virus, from her first symptoms.
When we got to the doctor's office, I felt so tired.
To her eventual recovery.
And no one else in my family caught it.
Now she hopes the book, which is available on Amazon, can help other kids who get the virus.
When I had it, I felt a little bit lonely, knowing that I had it and no one could tell me what it was like, because I don't know anyone that did have it. I thought it would be good to let people know about it.
Eden says she wants to write another book, but she hopes the next one isn't about having the coronavirus.
I will never be alone in this world, and neither will you.
Well, great job, Eden. The paperback book is available for pre-order on Amazon for $9.99. It will be released on February 21st.
Indiana leaders don't consider them vulnerable enough to get vaccines right now, but all new at 6 p.m. here, teachers are getting more frustrated and they're sharing their stories with WRTV.
And next at 5:30, this is not the time you want your furnace to go out. Important things to check right now so you won't be left in the cold.